Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Do not allow these weasels to change our culture, our values. And I'm going to give you an example because that example is related to the articles I will discuss in this video. Remember, in the past, in our cultures or civilizations, courage was when someone directly got involved in a fight and won, or did not win, but the act of courage against odds was considered an act of courage. Nowadays, that's considered stupidity. You are smarter, which is more weasel-like, if you just have someone else fight for you. But hey, you are still courageous, but you're going to have someone else fighting for you, but you're still courageous and smart. You got the difference? Before, it was the kings who took their freaking whatever they had and went in the battle, and they fought over there. Sometimes they died, they got struck by arrows and all of that. Now that's considered, that's stupid. You see, that's a change of values in a society. Now, these things are not values where you just avoid responsibility and you use other people to achieve your goals, and then you consider yourself smart. You are smart. Not you use those guys who were the victims. Nah, that's collateral damage. What do I have here? We have 4 articles, and they're talking about the new alliance pact between Russia and North Korea. Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, visited Pyongyang. Kim Jong-un, you see how I speak Korean, the woodchuck, over there. And they signed some defensive pacts and alliances, which is they will jump in each other's help if one of these countries are attacked. It's an alliance right there. And we have here an assessment from the Western countries that give us shit, which I think it's not true what they tell us, but this is their assessment. This is how they spin the truth. They are either mediocrities or they're just weasels trying to spin the truth. And the other point that I have here is how they react. Oh my God, you do something that we did, but what you do is bad, what we did is good. And again, the same avoiding responsibility. I will show you. First, China is watching wearily as Putin and Kim forge new alliance. Let me show you this. Right there. Wearily. Okay. So they are worried. Supposedly, China is watching worried, right, as Putin and Kim forge new alliance. End quote. Why is this imbecilic? The analyst, it says analysis by, let me see this person's names, Nectar Gan, G-A-N, from CNN. This person tells us that China is watching, my God, what's going on with these guys? Doesn't this person, I don't know if he's a man or woman, I don't give a shit. So this person tells us that China is caught by surprise. Don't you think that Russia and China, have to remind Mr. Nectar here, forge a bigger, stronger alliance with no limits? So do you think that the Russians and the Chinese did not agree to what Putin is doing in North Korea? I am 99.9% certain that they agreed. Putin did not go to North Korea just because. China agreed to that. And besides, China is not North Korea's enemy, as far as I remember. So again, this guy is an imbecile. And I'm going to show you a US general who is of the same. So, as Russian President Vladimir Putin glided through the crowd-lined streets of Pyongyang atop of a luxury Mercedes-Benz alongside his North Korean host Kim Jong-un last week, the two autocrats, one of them anyway, most important partner was watching from the sidelines hundreds of miles away in Beijing. No, don't buy that. That is a false interpretation of reality. 5 years ago, Xi Jinping was offered the same open-top ride with Kim when he came when he became the first Chinese leader to visit Pyongyang in 14 years. At the time, the two leaders vowed to strengthen ties and deepen cooperation, but the language palled in comparison with a breakthrough new partnership struck by Kim and Putin. These guys are not aware that the Chinese delegation was over there, I think, 2 weeks ago or something like this. And they're not aware of that, obviously. Before, it was Shoigu. It was not, I'm talking about the Russians now. I know I said the Chinese because they went over there after the Russian, I think it was Lavrov, visited and prepared. And then it was the Chinese. They are together. Break the news for this Nectar guy. Now, let's go to the next article, which we have a more dangerous. Why? Because he's a US general. But hey, I don't have trust in the generals anyway. Some colonels are better than some generals. Now, Russia's North Korea defense deal could create friction with China. US general. He's an idiot. I don't think that will happen. I don't understand how this guy, I understand how this guy can say these kind of things, but he knows the baboons don't know shit. Therefore, there you have it. So they will get this now right there. Here is the colonel, the general. Let's see who this guy is so I can give you a name. Russian President, all right, it says here, Russian President Vladimir Putin mutual defense agreement with North Korea has the potential to create friction with China. Potential? I don't think so. I think they discussed, they agreed, they will do it. And let me predict this, Xi Jinping will probably show up in Pyongyang or vice versa pretty soon after this. Or we're going to have a Chinese delegation over there copying the Russians. We'll see. So, friction with China, which has long been the reclusive state's main ally, the top US military officer said on Sunday. Are these guys idiots? And I'm quoting. I'm going to give you the name. And this is Mr. Brown. No surprise. And I'm quoting. We've got someone else who's kind of nudging in now. So that may drive a little bit more friction between China and Russia. Air Force General C.Q. Brown, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, told reporters during an overseas trip. Is he a diversity hire? He is, because he really much pushes the DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity. DI, whatever, all right? Equity and inclusion. So it will be interesting to see how these three countries, how this plays out. Well, you're an idiot. That's why you're a general in the US military. Remember, that guy had a lot of frustration directed towards one particular group. If he is really in charge of the Joint Chief of Staff, what do you think he can do? Wait for it. Well, I have places to go. The Americans, they will fight another civil war. I will join you, but I want to see you move first. Because every time I move first, you just stay on the sidelines and like, oh no, let the idiot immigrant do it for us. Happened to me in college in the United States of America, and I was like thinking, guys, I'm fighting for you here, and you just stay over there. You disagree with me? Guys, you're gonna be the ultimate losers here. Not me. Me too, but not the ultimate. You're gonna be. Next one. Bloomberg. US and key Asian allies denounce Putin and Kim's military pact. Why? You have a military pact as well. What's wrong with that? Well. And here we have the allies, who are Japan and South Korea. They will be the guys that are going to fight for the smart but courageous United States of America. Remember how I started this video? Exactly. And let's see what these guys are saying from Bloomberg. And the person who wrote this is John Herzkovits. Jonathan. All right, the Greek Jonathan. Herzkovits. You know what I mean, right? The US and its allies, Japan and South Korea, condemned in the strongest possible terms, end quote, the deepening military cooperation between Russia and North Korea, calling it a grave concern and a threat to stability. Your kind of stability, but not those guys' kind of stability. You have the American military in your countries. You are under, I would say, de facto occupation. You've been, at least Japan, since 1945, from the 2nd of September 1945, when they signed that little thing on that little warship. Remember? Unconditional surrender. Why? Because your allies dropped 2 atomic bombs over your civilian cities. Now, that is a terrorist war crime. But hey, now you are allies. Anybody else did that to anybody else? No. All right, so, but they are your allies. Thank you very much. Who wrote your constitution, Tokyo? You wrote it, and then you gave it to the guys and said, nah, back, nah, back. Do you have the right to own and bear arms? No. Why is that? Well, because they didn't want you to have the same rights that we enjoy here. Rights. Temporary privileges. So, it says here, they condemned in the strongest possible terms. North Korea warned these guys many, many times before. Stop, stop, stop. And they didn't. Why? Because they're the good people. And remember, the Americans will use Japan and Taiwan and South Korea in a war with these guys over there, as they use the, I would say, Ukrainians in this one. And the sooner the Ukrainians really take control of their country, then they will have, I would think, prosperity and love and happiness. Top envoys from the 3 nations discussed Vladimir Putin and leader Kim Jong-un reaching an agreement last week to come to each other's defense in case of attack, according to a joint statement released by the US State Department. The pact was made during the Russian president's first visit to North Korea in 24 years. He came over there as a prime minister, I think, if I remember correctly. Not in 24 years. No, he wasn't. He was the president, but he met not Kim Jong-un, his father. So what's going on here? These guys now say, if we're going to attack North Korea, Russia will be at war with us. Well, it's okay. The Americans will maneuver the Japanese in a little incident like the Tonkin incident, and then you're going to get at war with North Korea. And here you have the next article. The new voice of Ukraine, Seoul, the capital of South Korea, signals lethal aid to Ukraine if Russia supplies precision weapons to North Korea. Sorry to break the news. North Korea has nuclear weapons. So you find this, for that reason, we're going to do something that we were ordered a long time ago by our guys that are really in charge of our country. And now this is the reason why. No, those guys have nuclear weapons. It's like, hey, my enemy receives some little pocket knives from that guy, but that guy has a bazooka. My enemy has a bazooka and automatic weapons, but receives some pocket knives, and because you give them pocket knives, this is big escalation. We're going to give to your enemies, because our boss says so, weapons. You've been not neutral, South Korea, in Ukraine, NATO, Russia scuffle in Ukraine. You were not neutral. So you were the first ones who cast the rock. All right? And now you're going to get a punch in the face and you're crying like a bitch. So here it is, my friends. You're going to be used and we're crying because the other guys are doing exactly what we did. We are allies. They can't be allies. You know why? I tell you. Because we are the good people and they are the bad people. And we determine that by we identify ourselves as good. And we also identified them as bad. The problem is they don't have the same right to identify themselves as good and us as bad. Only we have the right. We gave ourselves the right to do that. And somehow you don't have it. Imbecilic? Exactly, like in the kindergarten. So my friends, here it is. I said this many times before. China and Russia are not at odds with what happened in Pyongyang whatsoever. They discussed this, I'm 100% certain. Let's put it 99.9% certain. China is not weary of what the Russians are doing with Kim Jong-un. I guarantee you that. And you're going to see the Chinese delegation showing up or vice versa pretty soon. It's not clear for these imbeciles already that they unleashed something that they cannot control. They thought Russia would just break in 48 hours, in a week their economy will disintegrate and Putin will come and their thing. And it didn't happen. Why? Because the Russians are smart. They think in centuries, not like these imbeciles in election cycles. That's why. And don't talk about the Chinese. Didn't they see how the relationship got better and better and closer between the Chinese and the Russians? They had time, at least 15 years. Baboons like me noted that. And they didn't? I think they did. The problem is they say, well, we got our little mercantile interest, the banking system, military-industrial complex, and the energy sector that we have to feed. Why? Because otherwise we're not in charge. I'm talking about our elected officials. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.